Hey, this is Dan from the Comic Indie Podcast you are now listening to. Just wanted to say we're sorry for the delay, that it's been a while since we did an update, but the reason for the delay is that we are getting ready for our first, believe it or not, actual convention that we are throwing in Houston, Texas, the Comic Indie Con, which is specializing in independent comics and is free to the public. So if you happen to be in the Houston area, we'd love to see you. Come and talk to the people at Pulp 21 who are in this podcast, as well as guests from previous podcasts and people who will hopefully be in future podcasts. Again, we hope to see you there. It's in Houston. Please see our website for more details. In the meantime, I know you've been waiting for part 2 of our podcast interview with Pulp 21. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, Pulp 21, part 2. Yeah, that's it. What else do you want?
Comic Indie Podcast. Comic Indie Podcast. Comic Indie Podcast. Comic Indie Podcast.
Speaking of writers and creators, you obviously mentioned you do this for the passion, you do this for the story, but as Pulp 21, how do you get involved with this?
What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, you seem to have like a large collection of people who all seem to connect on a personal level,
right,
producing comics. How does somebody see you guys and, oh my god, you do some great work, how do I,
get in the group?
Yeah,
well, here's a good question. John, how did you get in the group?
There we go.
That segues very well into that, actually.
I think so as well.
Yeah.
It's not what you know, it's who you know.
I've heard this.
Chet and I went to college together.
Oh.
All right.
And
That's the whole reason I'm in this.
That's how you remain.
After casually hanging out
college,
for
was high school.
2, maybe 3 years, we lost touch. Cammie mentioned she moved in with me. That was only about 6 years ago. And for her birthday, we took her to Comic Palooza, and Chet had a booth there. Caught me completely off guard.
2012?
Yes.
Yeah.
Caught me completely off guard, and so we reconnected there. Then, not really jumping right back into Pulp 21 at that point, or me, either of us getting involved with it at that point. Just, oh hey, haven't seen you for a long time, type of reconnection. And then Cammie has been drawing since the day we met, just almost nonstop. She's always been writing, and her passion had leached over to me. I've always been a comics person, but I've never really wanted to be involved with the comics, with making them or anything like that. But her passion for it kind of leached into me. While she's drawing, I'm pulling up YouTube videos on drawing and coloring, and then I see the Draw with Jazza channel on YouTube, and I'm like, he's using Photoshop. I have Photoshop. I can do this. So I'll go onto DeviantArt and download just download some black line art and just start coloring on Photoshop. And then I start watching other YouTube videos, and somebody says, I get my flatter to take care of this for me. And then he gets the flats and he does his rendering from there. I'm like, well, hell, I do that for fun now. So I call up Chet. It's like, hey, do you need somebody to flat your work for you?
Yes! Thank you! Manna from heaven.
Yeah, John is literally a godsend for this group. The fact that we have a guy just waiting in the wing for us to hand him work so he can color it.
Yeah. Well, we did.
That doesn't exist.
It makes all the difference.
That doesn't
it's
exist
your timeline
at
right
this
there.
level.
You decide black or white, and if you want to spend another 6 months, you do it in color, right?
Yeah. No. The fact that we have, as a group, we have a guy who's literally he doesn't want to do any projects or anything. Like the fact that he's literally.
Well, that's not entirely true.
Well, what I'm saying is that we have a guy who's literally just like waiting for us to hand him work so he can color it. It's just like that doesn't exist.
We had done a couple of other books, and the first anthology in Media Rex, and we had done all the work on that, the flats and the color rendering and whatnot, and that's where we were kind of, man, it'd be great if we could find somebody to do the flats, but it's such a tedious process, and the likelihood of actually finding somebody that would do that is just astronomical.
Right, and
then
that's all
lo
they're
and
gonna do,
behold,
right?
here comes John. He's like, hey, You
I'm
need
a
anybody to flag your
masochist.
comics?
Hey, I'm your friendly neighborhood masochist, and I just want to color comic books.
Well,
You're like,
I
are you
kind of get
serious?
it. Though. He just said that he finds comfort in cleaning.
Yeah.
So
Right.
this is the color would be
that's
something
me.
of a therapy as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
No, I find
I need a tile and a toothbrush.
I would do. I'd sit there on Photoshop
Literally what I
and
did
just
for a day.
flat out and poorly render just random line art while I'm watching The Flash on CW.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah, Grant Gustinson. Right?
See, that must be so nice. I
And
will
that's-
sit and zone out for like 2 hours.
and that's you know, I drive around the city of Houston all day for my day job. I talk to clients all day for my day job. My relaxation is to sit in front of my laptop and color inside the lines.
And he's really good at it. He's very quick at it. And on a few things, we've kind of pushed him into doing a little bit of rendering. You know, so he's going to become a fully formed, fledged color artist eventually, and then he's got a couple of.
So it's
Script
coloring,
ideas.
it's shading, and is it also special effects?
Sometimes.
I have done some.
Okay.
I have done some. I would call it comparable to an amateur.
Okay.
So,
but-
No, I
for special effects at
'cause
least.
When we met for Pulp 21, I actually purchased Media Rex or both of your anthologies, so you jumped in on the second book, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was really well done. I mean,
Let's see. What work did I do on that? I laid the flats for "Bury Me with My Weapon," Richard's book.
yeah.
Either you or he went through and did the actual rendering
he
on
did
that.
the rendering on that.
On Eldritch Waves, your story.
Yeah,
I
you
did.
did
I did the
everything.
flats too, and I did some rendering.
I didn't touch it.
You didn't touch it.
I just gave
Oh.
you instructions.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
then I
it
did the
was all
rendering
you-
on that.
No, very well
So-
done. No, and so yeah. I mean, that's cool that you found, I guess, peace in a way to just do flat. I'm assuming you found peace and you're not
Well-
the blue.
It's funny you say that. Richard's stuff on "Bury Me with My Weapon," Chet's stuff on Eldritch Waves.
Yeah.
That's the relaxation. That's
Okay.
that's the stuff that I like to do to just sit and chill.
And then
Pizzo's-
he lays flats all over Pizzo.
Pizzo's work is
about to say, like-
so beautiful.
He was
Pizzo's
yeah.
work is so fantastic. But it's very stylized, and it's very hard to lay color separation. You know, to separate where the T-shirt stops and the skin starts.
Which I'll go
It's-
ahead and say that Pizzo is ever evolving, as I am like working with Pizzo and trying to figure out how writing to cater him works best. And likewise, the more I can cater to Pizzo, the more that Pizzo can cater to John in the flats. But props to John. I mean, we can't. I think we handed in 26 pages.
A month
and
before deadline.
And this guy, and that wasn't our fault. That was not our fault. Chet. Chet.
Somebody's getting
Our old EIC here.
My computer was still down at the time.
So we were dealing with technical problems and all that kind of stuff. You know, like me and Pizzo had. My goal is to stay ahead of Pizzo. Pizzo's goal is to stay ahead of John. And that's the idea that we have going forward. And instead of handing him 26 pages at a time, to be like, hey man, by the way, bro, we need this within a month.
How many pages is he with issue 2?
He's actually already like 4 or 5 deep. You know what I mean?
We
Like,
need to get him.
I will
yeah.
say,
So it's like the whole plan is to hand in handfuls at a time. I'm
Not
as
batch
long,
load onto the next
as long
person.
as I stay
Yeah.
ahead of him in the script, and there's always something there that needs to be drawn, and that's mapped out efficiently, while also doing this other story with him. Like my goal is to stay ahead of him, where there's always something that he can be working on. And likewise, the minute that he finishes anything worth a handful, we pass it on to John so that he can stay ahead of the flats as well. But props to John for cranking out a full issue's worth of flatting inside of a month, which is just outstanding.
I got the pages.
He's going to be way harder on himself than he gives himself
I got
credit
the pages
for.
about a month before deadline, and my understanding when I received them was that this book was to be fully rendered. You know, shadows, highlights, special effects, just details in general. And so I'm rushing to get the flats down so that it can then go off to Chet or whomever was going to do the rendering for this. Well, after I finished about 2/3 of the pages, I find out, because of the deadline, we're just liking the way it looks. We're just going to make it a flats only comic. And I was actually kind of happy to hear that. I thought with Pizzo's style, it actually worked very
Yeah.
well as a flats only title.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that also led to some special effect work needed on some of the pages. There's
Right.
a lot of things where Grant is tripping on what was it? Coke, shrooms, and
It was Ambien, alcohol, Coke, and shrooms. He's not a good person. I
anyway,
can't
Anyway, so
You know what? just own them, man. You don't gotta be. You don't have to apologize for nothing.
This is
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss for 35 and up.
Yeah, exactly,
Oh my
exactly.
God.
It's like R. Crumb Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
That's what I like to think of it as.
So,
Yeah.
so Grant is tripping balls, and I just decided that for the coloring to try to throw this visualness to it, I'm gonna try to take some inspiration from Rob Zombie, and
Which was
his,
spot on.
his,
By the way,
his use of color,
spot on.
but that led to a lot of fading from one color to another, and flats don't work that great for fading, so I had to go through and then add in some of that. And it was a lot of fun to figure out, and I was actually quite happy to see it come out as a flats-only book. I know we discussed when releasing a trade, we might go through and render it. And
I mean, whatever. Either way, the idea that that's one of those pages where it's just like anyone that's just kind of casually flipping through the book while I'm giving my little sales pitch or whatever. They
And
get to that.
ironically enough, when most people open the book,
They
lands
open the book. Well, no,
on that page.
no, it doesn't. It lands at the strip club, which is like, whoa! And I was like, yeah. They're like, I got kids. I'm like, all right, well, maybe it's not for you, but it's like, well, maybe it is because you have kids. I don't know. That's not for me. That's up to you to decide. But the point
Pizzo
is
had to
that.
apologize to my wife when I was flatting that page.
Yeah, and likewise,
It's art, it's art.
Yeah.
Even Pizzo's wife was just like, "What is this? Who is James? What are you doing?" And so, like, I write
Nothing,
this.
man. Just
Yeah.
go with my phone.
So I write this. At the end of issue 1, I get my little page to myself, and I write my little thank you and kind of like acknowledge all the people that deserve to be acknowledged, which there are a lot. But yeah, I definitely apologize to Pizzo while thanking him.
So speaking of a lot, so this is just a small segment of Pulp 21 crew. So,
Right.
Chad, who are we missing here, and what are they doing?
Not
Not necessarily tonight.
Yeah.
But,
They're not doing anything right now. They're at home in their underwear, hanging out.
Yeah. There's Richard, the co-founder. He's the only guy that doesn't live here in town.
He's probably crying.
Yeah, he's usually crying. Yeah. But in the midst of crying, he's able to work on Bury Me With My Weapon, which is a title that he's writing and drawing and doing a lot of color work on. Drowned Peak, which is a one-shot that he's doing with a mutual friend of ours who's based in Spain, actually. Sergio Calvet. I'm probably butchering his name. That's almost done, and that thing looks beautiful. I can't wait to put that out. Yeah.
Congrats, you're now an international company.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I didn't even think of it like that. Yeah, yeah. That reminds me of the
USA.
USA, yeah, right?
USA.
The Australia thing.
yeah,
I don't know if you recall that.
I do remember.
Yes, yes. Yeah, that I need to talk to everybody about at some point. And then the other thing that he's doing is a webcomic called Eat It Joe's. And we should hopefully see that pretty soon. I've got to do a lot of different work that isn't comics. For the website, I got to upload the new books that we've got to ship. We got to go back to press on a few things. Back to who's not here and what's going on with them. There's James Linares, who is the creator, co-writer, and artist of Agent Panda, which was one of the other titles that we released. Agent Panda is a character that he came up with years ago. He's wanted to do a comic about it, and I finally convinced him to do something with us. He did a pinup for the first issue of Media Rex, and I'd been bugging him to do something, and he's like, okay, let's do it. Next year, I want to get out of the fan art game, and I want to do a comic of my own. Great. What do you want to do? Agent Panda. Okay. I don't know how to write a script. All right. I'll help you out with that. So
Writing is hard, man.
Yes,
yeah,
yes, it is.
yeah.
It's like,
It is.
I just want to say that. It's like,
And writing a comic strip is just completely different from novels or prose.
Absolutely.
Because it is a completely
It's the
different set of
backbone
muscles.
of everything.
Yeah.
It's just everything, pretty much.
It's
except for
hard.
the art.
it's very hard.
so I didn't really have a connection to Agent Panda, and it was kind of difficult actually for me to get into it. I mean, there's a lot of absurdity to it, but James also has this vein into the character that he takes very seriously. It's something that's very near and dear to him, and we figured something out. I wrote a script for him, and I kept on asking him about it. Hey, did you get to read the script?
Some of the ending.
Yes, talking about getting to the ending. I said, did you read the script yet? And he's like, oh, no, I hadn't had a chance yet. Okay, cool. A couple months later, asked the same question. No, I hadn't had a chance yet. A couple months later. Yeah,
wow.
yeah. Well, this is just people have their family lives, and their day jobs and
And he's
whatnot.
an artist.
Yeah. And he's an artist.
Okay.
Yes. He's actually one of the more reliable artists out there. So, but I eventually asked, and he said, yeah, I did get a chance to read it. Okay, what'd you think about the ending? And see, I got to the ending, and I've got this kind of personal philosophy about the art of the first issue. That's your first selling point. When you come out the gate, you need to be swinging, and you need to get everybody interested in what you're doing, not over inundate them with exposition and bore them. It's not a guidebook to the fiction. And so I was like, well, there's fun stuff happening, but at the end we need a really good hook. We need something that's going to surprise people. So I asked James if he'd read it, and he finally said, yeah. I read it, and then I went to my wife, and she asked what I thought about it, and I said, well, I don't know what to think. Well, what do you mean? Well, he cut his legs off. But I had a plan. I was going to put the toy back where I found it. I had a plan. And so we talked this out a little bit, and as you guys know, you've read the book, that's not exactly what happens at the end. So
creative differences.
Yeah. It's his baby,
What did I miss?
So
I've never seen this.
he rewrote the last of the book, rewrote the dialogue and everything else, the last few pages.
No, you will not cut my legs off.
Yeah. So that was fun, and we're going to get started on the second issue relatively soon. Eric Martinez has been banner champion of cover art for the group. He's done the first 2 covers of the anthology, the cover to the sketchbook. He did an issue or a cover for issue 3, which won't ever see the light of day, and the first issue of While You Were Out, and probably going to finish the other 2.
Oh,
right?
he's definitely going to keep doing the cover art. I also feel like I should invest stock into Eric Martinez just as a whole, because I own a lot of his original art pieces.
His stuff is beautiful. Look for...
He's one of those guys where it's just like, it doesn't matter what he draws, he can draw it well.
Yeah.
And it's
I mean,
disgusting.
your books are very polished, and I mean, covers included. It's
Yeah.
very, very, very nice work.
Yeah.
Jared Perez, who did Rockin' Time.
Which is a fun book.
Yeah.
It's a really fun idea.
He did all that on his own, but we're gonna look at going back to press on that one. That was kind of a fly by night, almost literally getting that book ready for the show. He hit me up the weekend before Comic Palooza. Said, "Hey, I've got a full book ready to go." I said, "Great, send me the files." I didn't get anything until like Tuesday. So I don't think we can get it to the printer in time. He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I know somebody." Okay, if you say so. And sure enough, he gets there Friday and Saturday. Yeah, with a stack of comics. Yeah. So we were able to turn that around. But we it's in black and white, and we want to go back and there's a few pages that are done in watercolor, and we want to go back and color everything else digitally. And sorry, John. And
Hey man,
lowers his head.
hey, whatever. No, it's something to do. Whatever.
Yeah. No.
Actually, I'm very excited to work on that book. Unfortunately, talking to him, it sounds like he's going to want to do it himself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's talented enough.
He said he didn't want to mess with it. That's what he told me.
Whatever.
I hit him up about it.
See, Jared, you're being talked about on this podcast.
At Palooza,
Get your story straight, dude.
At Palooza, I hit
This is
him up
the
about
Story Straight podcast.
At Palooza, I hit him up about going behind on it and redoing the color, and he was quite standoffish
I would get probably like,
well-
you don't like my watercolors?
Yeah. Well, we'll figure it out.
Present it
Yeah,
that
yeah. We'll figure it out.
Ooh,
Yeah.
the curtain has been pulled.
Yeah. You're getting look at the sausage.
water.
Yeah. This is how the sausage is made.
But I would absolutely love to work on that book.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Even in black and white. Rene Cruz, he's got this great comic that he's got about half of finished called Astro Bog. We haven't really released anything to the greater public about that just yet, but I can't wait to get that out there. But he's a new dad, so he's going to be preoccupied with that for a while.
That will take a lot of his time, energy, and sleep and consciousness.
Yes. Then we have Alicia Byron, and she. We need to get her back in the saddle, right, James?
Man, I like Badass is like my firstborn. You know, I love it with all my heart. However,
And she's doing beautiful, beautiful work.
I mean, yeah, I love all of her stuff, but I mean, the reason I started doing something else was because she also just had a newborn, so she's busy
Yeah.
being a
She
mom.
really does not have
So
time, energy, consciousness.
she's a busy bee, and I love her to death, and I really hope she keeps pressing forward with it. But I mean, you know, life is what it is. You know, you take it as you go, and that's why I try to work on multiple projects at once, so I always have something to do.
Now, Badass, is that Pulp 21 or is that something?
Badass
inside?
is Pulp 21.
So that was in
It's-
the anthology.
It's
then.
in the first
Yeah.
two anthologies.
Yep.
Also about drug use and low lives and all this.
God takes a LSD pill, is that right?
God retires. God
Yeah.
retires.
Yeah.
And he puts his puts the faith in humanity's hands, albeit a struggling broke musician called Alan. And he takes this pill, which is the color and shape of the earth,
Of the earth.
and,
Yeah, I
and
remember that
he thinks it's just acid, but it's actually him getting like god powers. So he's tripping balls and like seeing all these crazy things, but he's actually changing the world around him while he's tripping balls, which is a fun concept.
That's amazing. So I mean, Pulp 21, this is pretty deep in content. I mean, you guys, all in all, how many years are y'all in? Y'all mind aging yourself?
3.5?
In this current iteration,
This current group, 3.5.
about 3.5
3.5.
years, right?
Wow.
You make it
Yeah.
sound like it's Doctor Who. Well, in this regeneration,
It really is kind of like that.
Now it's 21.
It really has been like that
Yeah.
since day one, going back before I knew really any of you.
Yeah.
Maybe John. I might have known John at the time, but we weren't in contact at that point.
that was your William Hartnell years.
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
And who else am I forgetting about?
Must not have been important.
No.
No, I
Don't say
know.
that.
I
Don't
know.
say
You
that.
Phone it
That-
in,
that-
and
that
then
was-
we'll
that was-
add, we'll
Don't-
paste it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Cammy that said that. So
I mean, we already.
Hey,
we
I'm
already-
in the mood to fight anybody,
Right.
so
yeah,
Okay.
not anybody in the group. Come on. Well, maybe Kyle.
We talked about
I won't.
we talked about Kramer, right?
Yeah, well, no, a little bit, but
A little bit. We talked
I'm trying to
about
get him back into
Jared,
finishing up something.
Kyle.
Kyle didn't really speak about. He's got a story called Agent Granny Smith, and that don't know a whole lot about it just yet. But we've seen some preview art for
close
it.
to the chest.
Yeah,
We're hoping that he actually finishes it.
yeah.
Kyle, we're actually
Kyle,
hoping you finish
You're
it,
being
Kyle.
badgered, Kyle.
You're being badgered,
Yeah.
Kyle.
Finish something, Kyle.
Finish it, Kyle.
I love the fact that we've gone from a podcast to openly shaming people.
Straight up
I mean, that's
Park.
essentially, that's essentially the foundation of our group.
It's tough
Is that-
love.
It
Yeah.
is tough
Yeah.
love because the more we produce, the more we try to shame each other into actually
Mm-hmm.
finishing.
Yeah, because
stuff.
it's easy to
Yeah.
to get lazy. It's easy to get lost in things that are kind of unimportant.
Well, I mean, not even that. It's just like everyone has full-time jobs
Yeah.
and or kids.
Like I said,
or-
things that are unimportant.
I mean, yeah,
There's life
yeah.
and there's geekdom. Why are you not embracing the geekdom?
But I mean, even going back to like the the day-to-day grind of, you know, whether if you're an artist or a writer like me, like I don't, you know, the littlest thing can add up to something big. And, you know, even if you're not writing or drawing every day, if you have that moment where you're feeling inspired, like just, you know, sit down, pull out the notebook and doodle or write notes or brainstorm or whatever. I try to make it a point to at least once or twice a week force myself to sit down, like, throw on a record and just devote an hour. And even if I'm not inspired, I'm at least jotting down thoughts that I might have stored throughout the week, and just getting that down on paper so that it's like, I like to think of your brain as like a limited storage facility, like for RAM, you know what I mean? Like you have like all this like limited data, but if you write it down, you can move on to something else. And even if it's garbage, when you go back to it, you at least know to cross it off your list and be like, okay, well, I know this is not going to work, but this does. And then you start organizing those thoughts, and eventually you get to like your story, and then that evolves into a script, and so on and so forth. But I mean, like, all the little things across time, like, it all adds up, regardless of pacing. Like,
I really
any little bit, every little bit adds up to something.
I keep telling you to do that, because, I mean, he yelled at me for how long about it?
Yeah, I think most people, they want to sit down and do a huge chunk of work all at one time.
It just, I mean,
and it doesn't necessarily work like that.
Those fever dreams do happen,
They
but
do.
it's like they're so few and far between, though, versus like the daily grind of just being creative and forcing yourself to be creative, which is a conscious effort.
Sadly, I mean, like, we've actually been discussing this in my creative writing class. That doesn't always work for everybody. Well, yes, it is definitely something to keep in mind and to try out. Sadly, not all of the let's see, this is one of those lulls.
It's okay. We'll cut this out for later.
We cut around this. We cut around this.
So it's like the habits that a lot of artists form to get that creative juice flowing. Sometimes it doesn't always work for everybody. So, because like we've got a book that we're reading right now in my creative writing class, and my teacher's like, "Okay, I love everything this guy says. Ignore all of it." So,
well, like everything else, it's work. However it works for you, it's how it works for you.
Yeah.
I know people who literally have a tape recorder, and when they do, like, again, like your job, which allows you to drive a lot, you're not actually at a computer a lot, so they just keep the tape recorder on and they speak in Dragon Speak, and then they get home, they plug it into the computer, they let the Dragon Speak type it for them, and they come back and do editing. When I wrote a novel recently, and I did most of it because I had an hour-long lunch break, and it takes me 10 minutes to eat a sandwich. And so I brought a laptop with me. I had nothing else to do, and for every day, I would try to put in some work, and I ended up with a 92,000 word novel.
Wow.
nice.
So yeah, so it's,
I mean, honestly, you kept saying the stuff about the no energy or consciousness or sleep or whatever, and then this one over here, every time I mentioned that I had to go to bed because, college student, he's like, "Oh, there's no sleep in comics."
There's not.
No, I'm literally.
You saw that firsthand.
Yes, I'm aware. Thank you.
No, thank you.
But no, I'm literally going to title my creative nonfiction for this class. There's no sleep in comics.
Nice.
So you're welcome, and
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it.
Maybe.
the sequel to this, of course, will be No Sleep Till Comics.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So, speaking of comics, how can people find your comics?
We are at pulp21comics.com, and we have a few books in some of the Bedrock locations here in Houston, Texas. We're gonna be working on getting more in there. We're also on Twitter as Pulp21Comics, I believe. Instagram. We have a Facebook page, but that's garbage because Facebook's garbage. And
That's true.
that's it. We can be reached through those portals pretty easily.
You gotta give me all the information for when this stuff's available online, because if my Mimi asks me one more time if she can get this book online, I'm going to burn this company to the ground.
Yeah. No, it's. I've taken about a month off after Palooza, getting all the books ready for press and getting things ready for the show with a lot of help from John over there. He was a significant boon for that. And just doing the show that wipes a person out, and I've got a lot of stuff that I got to do on the other side of that. And I've taken the month off to just kind of recoup, and I took on a new role at work, so that's kept me pretty busy.
A month off. I wish I took a month off.
Hey, you rode the compulsion, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we're gonna not cut here, but is there anything else that
y'all would like to talk about, or is there anything else
I was
that...
kind of thinking about like the genres that they cover, because it seems like it's starting to vary quite a bit at this point.
Okay.
I actually did want to bring up something about the fact that, like, they've all got teams and stuff that they work with, so he's got Pizzo to help him with stuff, and my dad.
Micro teams.
Yeah. I've got a small handful of people who know my basic story for what I'm doing, and I'll throw ideas at them. They'll be like, "No, that's dumb. Don't write that down." But that's it, and it's so like honestly, I'm jealous of the fact that they've got these teams that they can work with. So it's.
You have beta readers. Treat them like gold.
Well, see, that's the thing. I'm not going to have these beta readers for very long because, like, I've got one friend who has the attention span of a squirrel. I love you. I'm sorry. You're going to hear this later. But she's got the attention span of a squirrel and will not sit and read anything longer than half a page. And then I've got another friend who, she's also going to hear this. Sorry. Not sorry. Can't speak English. And not in the has another language way, but just in the she doesn't words good. Like
This is in a creative writing class?
No,
Oh,
she's
God.
not.
Okay.
No, neither of these people are.
Okay.
However, this is Texas, so there's probably a lot of wrecking thrown in there for fun.
No, like I will text her in the middle of the day, and I'll get a message from her, and I'll see it, and I'll just put my phone down because I can't.
And plant to 7832. No, okay, that's 5.
But yeah, so like it's nice to have like hear them talk about all these people that they can go to and talk about with all of this, and then I'm sitting here like.
For what it's worth, I don't think Pizzo reads my script.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive because he's like, we'll print it, and he's like, whoa, where did that come from? And I was like, what are you talking about? It's been there the entire time. He's just like, I don't remember that. I'm like, did you read the script? He's like, no. I just look for the bits.
And then he laughs about it.
Yeah, he's just like, no. I just look for the bits where you tell me what to do, and I'm like, okay, cool, man. And then you still don't listen to me. Yeah.
Yeah, Pizzo's all id, and he gets it down on paper very well.
Okay, so when I talk about the whole finished not perfect thing, so for a while you were out, I wrote give or take like a 30-page script, which was the designated like I had gone into a good clean cutoff point, which developed the plot enough to kind of push it into the main, like this is the meat of the book, rather than just like the day in the life of Grant, the main character. Pizzo turned 19 pages of my first 30 that I had written in script into 26 pages of visuals. And I was like, bro,
Wow.
that's not, like, what? But we found a natural organic stopping point, which still worked, and so we cut it there, and that was the end of the first issue. Whereas, so essentially he gave me like a 10-page head start into issue 2, which was like, okay, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I can work with that.
Where are those pages?
He's working on them right now. He's already like 5 pages into them. Okay. So no, those are the pages that will be coming to you shortly.
Yeah.
No, 10
Seeing the
pages
updates.
in terms of what he was writing, what he's able, the plot of the next issue, and that touches on a thing that we talk about quite a bit when we're doing panels or just even talking to people that come and approach us about this. Is you're constantly rewriting, you plotting it, then writing the script, then handing it off to the artist or drawing it yourself, and then finally doing the letters. At each of those stages, you're changing things. You're adapting
Constantly.
as you go.
If you're set in stone with anything, you're never gonna make it.
Right.
You're never gonna make
Just
it.
drive yourself crazy.
Like it's a bend not break mentality, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's just like when I have a guy who's willing to draw this stuff. If he turns 19 pages into 26, I will gladly adjust to him. I can move words around and figure out pacing a lot better than it would be for him to be like, oh, I'm going to make you redraw all of this. I need you to take these 6 pages and condense it down to 2. Like it's easier for me to work around him as the artist than it is vice versa. But I mean, like, that also will change over time the more I realize how he works. Rather than giving him script panel to panel, so on and so forth, I can just say, hey, this is the breakdown of the action, and then he'll go in and kind of figure out where the page breaks are and make those adjustments himself visually, and then I can go in and just kind of lay over what I come up with is script and figure out where it makes sense on what he lays down visually. It's
It
different.
makes it very collaborative.
It's different. It's different for everyone, but that's true collaboration, and that's kind of the weird position that I'm in, because I'm not an artist. So it's my job to relay to him. He draws it, and then I kind of have to figure out where the words fit without overpowering his artwork, because I want to showcase that, because it's obviously very fun and different compared to a lot of the other things you're going to look at. So that's true collaboration. You roll with the punches. Nothing is concrete. And it's just a bend not break mentality, you know. So
Pulp 21 has been bending but not breaking very well in the community, and we really do appreciate you guys.
yeah,
But-
I think again for mine, as far as like While You Were Out, the original idea was I wanted to tell like a very classic noir tale with like femme fatale character and all these sorts of things, and it still will have all of that. It's just visually, it's you can't like, as far as the
With
medium
Pizzo
as a whole
in the
with
game.
Pizzo and his style, it's not even close to that. So it kind of just like morphed into this like cautionary tale, which will still have the femme fatale role on all these sorts of things, and gangsters and mobsters and all that kind of fun stuff, genre wise, but visually it's just like this completely different animal. And so it's very cross genre in that aspect, which is fun to me, because again, it wasn't at all what I pictured in my head, but like I'm totally okay with rolling with it because it still looks fantastic. So you just play with whatever. If there's an artist that's willing to let me tell them what to do, even though they don't really listen to me, like,
Can you blame him?
you know what I mean? I wouldn't listen to me either. I'd be like, hey, I really need this. He's like, nah, I'm going to turn that into 5 pages. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, whatever, yeah. So it's like, again, like if I have someone that's willing to draw whatever it is that I tell them, I'm not going to turn that down. So like, I'll roll with the punches on
Now, are
anything.
these like short stories, or is it one continuing kind of story that you're working on?
While You Were
now?
Out, originally I wanted to try to do it in 2 issues, but because of Pizzo turning 30 pages into the first 19 being 26, it's probably going to be 3. So second issue will be like getting into the femme fatale, the turn essentially, and then third issue will probably be like how he fights himself out of that corner.
The Prestige.
Exactly, the curtain pull, so on and so forth.
Cool.
A nice little graphic novel.
Yeah,
eventually.
exactly. When it's done, we'll collect it and put it in
Self-contained thing.
put it in a trade.
Yeah, and everybody's working on things at varying lengths. My story on Eldritch Waves that I write and draw, I intended that to be a short one-shot, and John is over there laughing at me because he's a word I want to say, but I'm trying to keep this PG.
13. PG-13.
Yeah, at least 13. Well, if it's 13, then fine.
Yeah, you can
He's
say
an
it
asshole.
once.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not it. That's not what I was saying.
Yeah.
Is that they'll give you 1.
Yeah, nah. But no, the
It's one.
Everybody gets 1. Hollywood doesn't care.
mine's a Lovecraft pastiche, taking pretty much a stack of his stories, throwing them into a blender, and pouring it out into a pan and doing something different with it. And like I said, I wanted to do it as a short one shot, and then I started setting things up, and I already did it in the second chapter. I was talking to John about it, talked to multiple people within the group, and John says to me, "Yeah, by the time I was working on the second issue, flatting and coloring that for you, I got to thinking, well, hell, this is probably going to wind up being 4 issues." And I paused, a glimmer of hate glistened in my eyes. And I said, damn it, you're right. And so that's probably what I'm looking at with it. I hesitate to go into more of the story because I've been struggling with the ending. But it's kind of a last stand in the midst of a Lovecraftian apocalypse in a convenience store. And what craziness ensues from that. Lots of loose visual ideas here and there. And plot ideas. But it just hasn't all gelled together yet. In the way that I needed to, and I chalk that up to advice, I say in quotation marks, from Richard, because he had dared me at the onset of this to go into it without having a structure. He said, "Come up with it as you go." I am used to working with the structure. And I said, okay, challenge accepted. And man, has that blown up in my face.
I've heard people going from what they call the pantser to a plotter is an interesting invention. Going from a plotter to a pantser, on the other hand, is just like watching. It's like throwing people to the wolves.
Yeah. So I'm being chewed on pretty rigorously. But I'll figure something out. That's what you got to do. That's the name of this game. It's problem solving.
And in Vengeance, Chet's going to turn my one shot into a 22-issue arc.
Yep. You're right. Thanks for the idea. I had thought of that before, but thank you.
I'd like to talk more about Agent Panda.
Sure.
I mean, this is. I was looking through the art, and it looks really good. It's one of the things that kind of struck me right away.
He did that whole book digitally.
Wow.
Yeah, he did it on a Samsung Galaxy 10 tab something or another.
That's what I say. On a phone, really?
No. The 10-inch tablet using the Medibang app. Medibang. It's kind of a Photoshop knockoff.
Okay, I think I know which one you're talking about.
And he penciled and inked and colored the whole thing and that.
And there's a lot to be said with people that do it old school, but the ones that are doing it digitally, it just seems a lot easier in my opinion. There's an undo button,
right?
Whereas
I love
everything
that
else.
buttons.
Oh my god, Control Z is my best friend.
Yes.
A lot more cleanup needs to be involved.
Yeah.
Would make our lives a lot easier if there was a universal Control Z.
I was just thinking that'd be a great name for an abortion clinic.
Oh my god, don't, dude.
The real Pulp 21 comes out.
You should know that Pulp 21 books are kind of dark.
Yeah.
You can get your copy of Pulp 21 books.
We're pillars of the community, folks.
Yeah, they've definitely taken their toll on me.
That's actually pretty good. That's good.
Copyright Chet Presley.
And it's ideas, free. Spread it around, guys. Have fun with the joke.
That's a joke in and of itself.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I said, they've taken their toll on me.
Yeah.
I was about to say they rubbed off, but it's a little bit worse than that now.
It rubbed off quite a bit.
Yeah.
She used to be a sweet girl.
Just based off of everything I have planned to draw for the second issue, I'm scared. And
That's
I'm the
a
one
good
drawing it.
So Agent Panda, sorry. We were talking about the art and
And the story.
Right. Before we got to abortion clinics.
Another segment to work on. Before we got to abortion clinics, how do you enter into a conversation?
That might be that's a good
Welcome to
stinger.
Pulp
Normally
21.
at the beginning of the podcast we start with the joke and then we go into the theme song. So yeah.
This is
We
awesome.
have
That's going to be cut out.
a stinger now.
At this point, we're doing a part 1 and a part 2. I think.
Yeah.
We're just getting over it now.
But you're saying the writing and the.
Well, the story. What were your questions? What were you curious about regarding that?
Well, I know. I was just reading through it, and it already looks like it's well polished. It probably because of everything you've written before, and then now getting to this point, and it looks like it's a whole different direction too.
Yeah, I mean, you want to write something that services the material that's in front of you. I didn't want to turn it into Chet Presley's Agent Panda or anything like that. It's James's thing, and he gave me enough material to put together and wrench a plot out of that. And he, like I said, he gave me a lot of notes on his voice. I came up with one character in there, and it's a bad joke. Major Ace Wall. Say it real fast. Yeah. Okay. And Phoebe. But I'm kind of helping him build that together. You guys familiar with Hellboy?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay. So the first miniseries, Seed of Destruction, John Byrne scripted that for Mignola. And he did the same thing. Mignola gave Byrne a stack of notes and everything else, and by the time that was done, Mignola was pretty much already writing it. And Byrne was just getting paid for hitting keys. And after that, it was all Mignola's show. So I kind of feel like that's where this is going to go. I'm helping him get it started, and we're going to establish a direction. And then he's just going to, I got it. Don't worry about it. Okay, great. Have fun. So, in terms of where that's going, I we actually need to discuss that a little bit more. I've got a couple of loose ideas, and I guarantee you, James, if you've ever had the pleasure of talking to him, and he can talk, he's got ideas. He knows where he wants to take this. So I just will take that and write a script for him. And I try to do full script for most things. I'll even write a full script for myself.
And is this one already in print, or is it going to be in print pretty soon?
Panda. Yeah, it's in print. Yeah, and in fact, we sold out of. We had everything for sale at Comicpalooza, including our
I got
older
my signed
books.
copy.
Yeah.
And James had his stack over at his table itself.
Right.
Well, she sold out of that too.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Is we sold out of Seed, which was Pizzo's first book with us, the first self-contained story as well, and then we had copies left over of Seed. Those sold out, and then James debuted Agent Panda with us. We had a couple copies. He had the lion's share, and sold out that weekend.
Cool.
Yeah, they just vanished. I think he was sold out by Saturday.
He was very close by the end of Saturday.
Wow.
And
Okay.
We forced him to slow down so he could have a couple issues to sell on
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was getting hairy there, and we didn't order a huge number. We wanted to kind of test things out and see how they were going, but it was still a pretty impressive number of copies sold. So
Nice. Well, that's a good problem to have.
yes,
Yeah.
While you were out, did not sell out.
Well, James has built this great audience in the fan art community, and he's been doing that for years.
He actually did 2 commissions for me based on original characters, and I gotta say, they are stunning.
Did he do this recently?
Yeah, actually.
I think I saw one of those. It looked really cool.
Yeah. The Emperor Zombie.
I think so. Yeah. Crown and the
I will see what I can do about posting it someplace for our readers to listen to it. Yeah, he did a great one, but he also released on his own website the before and after pic because I gave him like a quick sketch because I'm an artist. I'm nowhere near as good as you guys are. I'm an artist. I said, hey, here you go, and he took it and he ran with the thing.
Oh yeah,
and just did an amazing job.
James is great. I'm really glad to have him working with us and producing some comics. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what else he's going to do with us.
Oh, so are we. We're looking forward to
absolutely.
the next generation of comics that you guys are fleshing out, because it looks like it's just going in different directions. But still, and this is a publishing company, so it just seems like somebody's going to have a good variety to choose from.
Yeah, and I had kind of to be perfectly honest with you, a limited idea of the kinds of things that I wanted to do at first, and as time has gone on, I've been convinced otherwise. By things that people have said to me, but also seeing the work come along, and it's rewarding, but it's not in a self-gratifying way. But it's rewarding to see and help people get these ideas out there. That keeps it fresh also and exciting. And there are people out there, especially in comics. Most people there has been that idea that comics are Marvel and DC.
Right.
It's all for boys, and it's all for boys between the ages of 18 and 35, or men, or whatever. And that's not true. You can go to Comicpalooza and you can see otherwise. You can go to the comic book store and see otherwise. Cammy, right here, is a perfect example of somebody that does not fit that demographic, and she's got people who are very much interested in what she's doing. Why not put that out there for them to have it? So,
It's great.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Love it.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Pause point.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
what else?
I actually didn't end up describing my genre.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
All right. Well, basically, the idea is that it's a urban fantasy, definitely modern based, but I want that magic aspect to it because I am really passionate about fantasy. I get into arguments with him all the time because I prefer fantasy over sci-fi. I mean, I enjoy sci-fi, but I
like Fallout. She likes Elder Scrolls.
yeah.
It's all Bethesda.
But yeah, so It's essentially an urban fantasy. Magic is worked into the entirety of everyday life outside of humans who don't know about the different magics, like the different people who have magic, like elves, witches, dwarves, and stuff like that.
It's another realm science.
Sure. Yes.
Any sufficiently advanced magic is indistinguishable from science.
Sure.
Well, they say it's just science you don't understand, right?
Yeah. Magic is just science you don't understand. I love that one. But yeah, so, I mean, like I was saying, I've got, right now it's just a plan for 10 issues, because if I can at least get to 10, then maybe I'll be like, okay, I'm done. Or maybe I'll want to continue because I actually got the idea to, I've got at least, it's kind of like a 3-act play for me. Like, I've got the idea of, this is the end of Act 1, this is the end of Act 2, and that's the end of Act 3. The end of Act 3 is the finale, and hopefully I'm planning on this going a while, if I can actually do it. And it's stressful.
Welcome to comics.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's only hard at first, but once you find your zone, like
Yeah.
you were saying, it gets.
Once you
little
get into a
easier.
rhythm, it's
Yep.
pretty.
I think it's also good to like not necessarily imagine. It's good to have like that long-term goal of like, okay, I'm going for 10 issues.
Yeah.
But if you're 5 issues in and you feel it like it's starting to wrap up, like finish it in 6.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Now, how
like,
much is
don't
an issue for you guys? Is it 32 pages? I didn't go back and I didn't.
22
Mine-
to 30,
Yeah.
anywhere in that
Mine
range.
was 22 purely because I wanted to get it out, and the way that I had it wrapping up, it didn't make sense to make it drag on longer, so it just ended up being 22 pages, and it was easier to crank out in that
it's not
short.
like writing a book where you're just writing the words. You can easily cram out, put a 100-page book
Yeah.
probably within a month. Whereas this takes a lot more consideration because you have to do, the kind of like the layout, how everybody's gonna, the poses, and
Yeah.
the shots, and
Yeah.
you have to plan all that out, and then you have to do the actual work.
Yeah.
It's a lot more involved, and then
It-
you have to do 22 pages. You're doing 3 issues, 60 pages.
Yeah.
It's quite a bit.
So,
It's comics.
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I it's, for me, it's kind of a nice little, like, separate piece from, like, you've got drug mess.
Drug mess.
Drug mess. Drug mess.
And then you've got,
Action.
what was
Lovecraft.
Lovecraftian.
Lovecraft. Okay.
My mentioning Pulp 21 to my English teacher is actually the whole reason he continues to bring up Lovecraft in my creative writing class, because
Really?
yeah,
Cool.
because I mentioned it to him several times, and every time he brings up Lovecraft, he points at me, and I'm like, stop.
It's a good thing. That means
Yes.
he actually listens to you.
Yeah. Which is great, but at the same time, it's like, please stop centering me out.
That's
But
okay
yeah.
as a fantasy person. Then you just have to go from Lovecraft all the way to the Conan the Barbarian saga, which is by the best friend of Lovecraft, and then you work it into your stuff. So it works full circle.
So it's.
Go Robert E. Howard.
I feel like I'm different enough that it's standing out, but it's still Pulp 21, especially with what I have planned for the second issue. It's a mess in the second issue. I'm so scared.
Yeah, content-wise, there's no one brand idea to Pulp 21. Yeah, it's if you've got a completed comic and it's readable, we'll probably do something with it.
Well, I actually just mentioned to some classmates because he's got a very Tolkien, Lynchian style.
David Lynch and Tolkien.
I think so. Yes.
That sounds like a very interesting mix.
He's
That
actually
sounds awesome.
no,
Yeah.
he's so good. I actually I told him that I need to bring him some card, a card. So
This is
going
going
to
to be like a dwarven elf in a red room, like talking
No,
backwards
no,
and stuff. That'd be awesome.
No, see what
Interesting.
he
But damn it, the Elven Pie is amazing.
Well, we right now we were just working on fiction writing in my creative writing class. We were doing fiction, and his fiction piece, it ended up being about a man's descent into hell, but the way it's written, it's got that weirdness of, like, he kept referencing Twin Peaks. Because he really likes that weirdness from Twin Peaks, but he wanted that that kind of magical, mystical feeling that you get from Tolkien. So it's like, I honestly, like, he was talking about that. I'm like, I need to tell him about Pulp 21. He would fit right in.
Sounds pretty apropos. Yeah. I guess there's definitely an idiosyncratic vein that runs through most of our work.
We're all weird.
Yeah, we're all weird. Exactly.
And we
we
ourselves.
bend a lot of genres. It's kind of difficult to actually ask the genre question. We don't.
I mean, that sounds like a great advertisement. Genre bending.
Yeah.
Genre bending.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but people are like, so how would you describe Pulp 21? And we all look at each other like, I don't
Yeah.
Genre
You ever seen a
bending.
train wreck?
But like everyone lives, but they're all maimed.
Yeah. You're getting real close.
It's like that.
It's like,
What happens when a blockbuster video explodes? You're gonna get everything.
it's like siblings. The whole "I'm not touching you, I'm not
Yeah.
touching you," and then somebody gets punched.
Yeah. It loses that.
Yeah.
And my favorite, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt, and then it's hilarious.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you see Pulp 21 transitioning within the next 5 to 10 years?
We hope to
Or
have
what's the
another
vision?
book out.
Yeah. We hope to put another book out.
No, it's not just
No,
other books.
no.
It's another book. It's not
Yeah.
just other books. We just hope to have at least one other book out.
No, it's happening.
Yeah.
No, we're definitely gonna push to get more stuff done. I haven't officially announced this dictum to anybody.
Oh, he's about to though.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's it.
Here, you guys get a
Announcement-
debut.
Yeah.
The
announcing it to the
first
internet.
group of creators to get together a completed project is going to be the first to be pushed for major distribution through Diamond. That's when we're going to start knocking on their door. When we have a completed product, you're number one, getting pushed through. That's what we're doing. And in the
Martinez,
meantime, in the meantime, we're just going to keep putting things out and selling it on the web, trying to build relationships with stores, and it's really tough. We've been kind of sticking to the Houston area, and we want to branch out, but travel with work commitments, family commitments, and things like that can be kind of difficult. The success of mailing things out, and we do want to give that a shot. We've got a list of retailers that we found that are supposed to be indie friendly. So we're kind of hoping that if we can send them some things, they'll place a couple of orders. We had this one guy in Australia that hit us up with an order, and there was some internal debate about that kind of staked it. And that could have been a very interesting thing, but you live and learn as you go. We're just trying lots of different things without trying to lose too much money, which we've lost plenty of already.
You don't mention that.
Yeah.
If you're making comics to make money,
Get out.
Don't no.
Yeah.
you're in the wrong business.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you can, if you shell out a couple of bucks every now and then, and you can sell enough to pay for further print runs and stuff like that, that's the short-term achievable goal to keep pressing forward until you figure out how to get it to the next level.
Yeah, and I think maybe she alluded to this before, but there's something about somebody that creates a comic that I guess they're more the creator, the entertainer. That side is something that's kind of born into you. It's not something that you really get away from.
You have
it's
to
a
want,
compulsion.
Right.
Yeah.
You-
You have to want to entertain people.
Well, likewise, it's like I if you're spending time on a project, at least whether if it's writing a novel or a short story or poetry or regardless of what medium it is, like if it's not
Literally,
something that you would want to read,
Yeah.
then like you shouldn't be doing
Right.
it.
Yeah,
like
you-
like when
You have to
me
be
writing
excited
all the
about what
terrible
you're doing.
things with all the lowlives and all the drugs and all that stuff. That's the kind of stuff I want to read. That's just the person I am. Like I'm okay with that.
And you know,
That's-
it's cool
yeah.
because there's always going to be an audience for that.
And so yeah, and again,
on
so
Netflix, I could
It's-
definitely see
so
something
like
like that.
so like at Palooza, yeah, the book didn't sell great for us as far as like me and Pizzo specifically, but we had like a lot of dads and their kids come up to the table and they were like they would flip through it and they would open up to the when you just hold the book in your hand and it opens up immediately to the strip club scene, and they were just like, whoa! And I was just like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not for you. And they were like, wow, that's pretty wild. But some of them were like, yeah, I'll take it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
It's definitely back to the whole, if you're passionate about it, it'll show.
Yeah.
Like if you feel whenever you're working on it, it's going to bleed into whatever you're working on, because it's intense.
Can't fake the funk.
Yeah.
Can't.
No.
The fun.
It's kind of. I mean, you can't really do the fake it till you make it with comic books. Not entirely. You can't fake it as
I think
much.
in that respect, though, that phrase takes on a different meaning for comics.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that your heart's not in the project. It's what you're faking is the competency of your skill level.
Or the convincing yourself that I really am a writer. I really am an artist.
Right.
I'm not going to listen to what the schmucks say.
Which is nonsense imposter syndrome. If you're sitting down and you're writing things and you're drawing things, you're a writer. You're an artist.
I mean, even Warren Ellis says that they asked him about his craft and what's your process and blah blah blah, and his only response really was like, if you're a writer, you write.
Yeah.
And that's kind of regardless of what your process is or what works best for you or whatever, it's just like as long as you're devoting time to it and you sit down often enough to devote, whether if it's just me in my notebook brainstorming or jotting down plot lines or reorganizing thoughts I already have written. I mean, as long as you're working towards the end game, you're a writer, And if you're having fun doing it and you're still, enthused about what you're doing, like you'll get there. You'll get there as long as you keep at it. You just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, Brian Bendis kind of takes that same idea to another level a little bit and says, if you're making comics, you're producing them, you're getting them out there and everything, guess what? You're in comics. Mm-hmm. You've made it. You're in.
Spoken by a man who had to leave his award ceremony to do his day job as a caricature artist for a bar mitzvah.
Yeah.
Honest story, apparently, yes.
Yeah.
Anything else that you guys want to push, plug, talk about?
Other than the website, I tell you what, if you guys are inclined, on the website there is a link to our newsletter, and we highly recommend that you sign up for that, because while we are going to be posting things to Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, we're going to do some exclusive stuff through the newsletter. Some exclusive previews and things like that.
All right, you heard it here.
Okay, and if you're interested in signing up for the Pulp 21 newsletter, we highly recommend that you go to pulp21comics.com. Good, see it, love it, enjoy it. And also, if you're done enjoying the pulp21comics.com, you can come to comicindie.com. There you can find podcasts, you can find videos that we have presented, and you will find information of the Comic Indie Con, which if you're in Houston in November 3rd, please come visit us. Please come see us. It is free to the public, and we will have as many people here as we can, including possibly these people. So please come enjoy us. And if you, like these good people, have a comic that you want us to talk about it, if you think we should be talking about some other stuff that is available out there that we do not know about, if you really want to tell us that we're awesome or that we suck, we don't care. We want to hear from you. So please go to comicindie.com. You can also find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Tumblr, and I believe on Instagram. Ladies and gentlemen, please come visit us. We would love to hear from you, from all of us here at comicindie.com, and from all our guests. Please, can we get another round for the guests? You are again.
Oh, I thought we were doing a round of applause. Now I look like the asshole.
That's okay. We had a nice pause there. We can cut from there on. And joining us today, please, thank you,
John.
Cammy.
James.
Chet.
For